Could the Green Bay Packers actually be making a serious trade offer for Micah Parsons? That's the question dominating NFL headlines right now, and it's not hard to see why. Parsons is one of the top defensive players in the league, a game-changer who could disrupt offenses like few others, and the Dallas Cowboys have been dragging their feet on his contract extension. The stakes couldn't be higher. Parsons is looking for a deal that would likely make him the highest-paid defensive player in NFL history. And from the outside looking in, it seems like the Cowboys have missed a golden opportunity. Had they extended him last offseason, they would have saved themselves millions, avoided unnecessary drama, and kept one of their most dynamic playmakers fully invested in the team's success. Instead, the delay has created tension, raised questions, and fueled speculation about whether Dallas is even serious about keeping Parsons long-term. It's worth remembering just how significant Parsons is to this Cowboys roster. He's not just a talented pass rusher. He's a defensive centerpiece. His ability to pressure quarterbacks, disrupt passing lanes, and dominate in coverage makes him irreplaceable. And yet, here we are, with Dallas facing mounting financial commitments. Dak Prescott's record-breaking contract of $60 million per year has already reshaped the team's salary cap, making him the highest-paid quarterback in NFL history. CeeDee Lamb has also been secured with a massive extension, leaving the Cowboys in a position where they need to make strategic decisions about how to allocate resources. While Dallas is one of the wealthiest franchises in sports, with a valuation north of $11 billion, managing a roster under the NFL's salary cap requires delicate planning. Parsons' situation has become a focal point because it intersects with both on-field performance and organizational strategy. Enter the Packers. According to reports, Green Bay has made a trade offer to Dallas for Parsons, a move that could shake up the NFC and dramatically alter the outlook for multiple teams. The Packers, who have been searching for a consistent pass rusher all offseason, see Parsons as a player who could immediately elevate their defense to elite status. Green Bay's defensive line is talented, but not quite at the level needed to dominate consistently against top-tier offenses. Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, and Lucas Van Ness provide a strong foundation, but Parsons would bring an entirely different dimension: speed, power, and relentless pressure that can change the flow of a game. For a team with aspirations of competing deep into the playoffs and challenging for the Super Bowl, acquiring a player of Parsons' caliber would be a huge coup. Historically, the Packers have been seen as a franchise that values a combination of young talent and strategic veteran acquisitions. Their offense is loaded with weapons, and they've built a team that, on paper, should be capable of making a deep run. Last season, however, they fell short of expectations, finishing as a 7-seed playoff team. They defeated the second-seeded Cowboys and nearly upset the top-seeded 49ers, signaling that the team is on the rise but still has gaps to fill, especially in pass rush and defensive consistency. Parsons represents a solution to that gap. He's a player who doesn't just bring talent, but also the ability to shift momentum and create opportunities that elevate the entire defense. With him on the roster, Green Bay could become a legitimate contender in the NFC, potentially even vaulting into the top 10 in Super Bowl odds for 2025. From the perspective of the Cowboys, the situation is complex. The financial reality of paying multiple star players has put them in a delicate position. By waiting on Parsons, they've inadvertently created drama that distracts from the on-field preparation, particularly for a first-year head coach like Brian Schottenheimer. Beyond the financial implications, there's also the psychological component. Parsons is one of the league's premier defensive talents, and uncertainty about his future could affect team morale. The speculation surrounding his potential trade adds another layer of intrigue. And while some analysts argue that the Cowboys will ultimately sign him to an extension, the fact that Green Bay and possibly other teams are making serious inquiries cannot be ignored. It's a classic high-stakes negotiation scenario, where both talent and timing play critical roles. Parsons' impact on the field cannot be overstated. If we look at how elite quarterbacks are defeated, particularly players like Patrick Mahomes, one common denominator emerges: relentless pressure. In Super Bowl 57, the Eagles' defensive front provided a blueprint for how to handle top-tier quarterbacks. They blitzed sparingly but consistently generated pressure, recording 0 blitzes in that game, yet managing 26 pressures, 6 sacks, and a pressure rate of nearly 43%. Across the 4 playoff games, Philadelphia's defensive line accumulated 92 pressures, 15 sacks, and an overall pass rush win rate above 54%. This is exactly the type of impact Parsons can bring. His ability to collapse the pocket, disrupt timing, and force errors is the kind of game-changing skill that elevates a good defense into a championship-caliber unit. For Green Bay, adding Parsons isn't just about acquiring a star player. It's about completely transforming their defensive identity. It's also worth noting that the Packers have explored other options on the market. They've shown interest in players like Trey Hendrickson, who remains without a contract extension with the Bengals. Green Bay knows they have one of the youngest teams in the NFL, and pairing youth with elite talent like Parsons can create the perfect recipe for sustainable success. Their offensive talent is already strong, and the addition of a dominant defensive presence would make them balanced and dangerous on both sides of the ball. While the Packers' defense was good last year, it wasn't enough to consistently compete with the league's elite teams. Parsons could be the missing piece to change that narrative entirely. For Eagles fans, all of this is particularly relevant. Philadelphia opens the season against Dallas, and the presence or absence of Parsons on the Cowboys roster could have a significant impact. A Parsons-free Dallas team presents a more manageable opponent, whereas a Dallas team reinforced by Green Bay via trade could make the season opener and subsequent meetings much more challenging. The NFL is a league defined by margins, and a player like Parsons can swing games and, by extension, playoff trajectories. The ripple effect extends beyond Dallas and Green Bay, influencing the strategy, preparation, and expectations for every team in the NFC. If Green Bay does land Micah Parsons, the consequences would ripple across the NFC in ways few could fully predict. A player of his caliber doesn't just make a team stronger. He forces opponents to rethink game plans entirely. Offensive coordinators would have to account for Parsons on every snap, potentially altering blocking schemes, play-calling tendencies, and even the way quarterbacks step up in the pocket. Parsons' unique blend of speed, strength, and football intelligence makes him one of the rare defenders capable of neutralizing a team's offensive rhythm almost single-handedly. Beyond the immediate tactical advantages, the psychological impact of such a trade cannot be overstated. Parsons is a player who brings an intimidating presence, and even the mere threat of his arrival on a new team can affect preparation. Opposing quarterbacks often have to make faster decisions, release the ball earlier than intended, or adjust footwork and mechanics to avoid pressure. Over a 17-game season, these subtle shifts accumulate, translating into turnovers, stalled drives, and missed opportunities. For Green Bay, Parsons would be more than a pass rusher. He would be a force multiplier, elevating the play of every linebacker, defensive end, and cornerback around him. Players like Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark would suddenly find themselves in advantageous situations more frequently because Parsons commands double teams, demands constant attention, and creates chaos in the backfield. It's also important to understand the financial dimensions of this potential move. The Packers have historically been strategic with their cap management, avoiding overspending on a single player, even in free agency. However, Parsons' contract demands are significant. Reports suggest he is seeking a deal in the $35 to $40 million per year range, potentially surpassing even Aaron Donald's historic defensive contract. For Green Bay, acquiring Parsons could require restructuring or creatively negotiating the contracts of current stars. Aaron Rodgers' departure freed up significant cap space, but there are still limitations. The Packers would need to balance the desire for immediate defensive dominance with the long-term health of the roster, ensuring that future seasons are not compromised by front-loaded deals or cap constraints. This balancing act is why trades like this are rare. They require financial ingenuity, scouting confidence, and a willingness to accept short-term risk for long-term gain. From a league-wide perspective, a Parsons trade would set a precedent. The NFL has always been driven by marquee player movements, but defensive stars rarely dominate headlines in the way quarterbacks or wide receivers do. Parsons challenges that trend. He's a generational talent, a player whose impact transcends traditional statistics. In modern football, the ability to pressure a quarterback consistently is as valuable as having a top-tier quarterback or receiver. Teams that have elite defensive pass rushers frequently outperform expectations, particularly in high-pressure playoff situations. Consider how Khalil Mack transformed the Bears in 2018, or how Aaron Donald reshaped the Rams' defensive identity. Parsons is in that same category, a player whose presence alters the way opponents operate and shifts the strategic balance across an entire conference. Meanwhile, the Cowboys' front office faces a dilemma. Do they meet Parsons' financial demands and risk overloading their salary cap? Or do they allow the trade discussions to continue and potentially let one of the league's most dominant defensive players leave? Each option carries risks. Signing Parsons immediately would send a message of loyalty and intent, but could restrict flexibility for other positions, like offensive line reinforcements or secondary upgrades. Allowing Parsons to be traded would undoubtedly be controversial, drawing criticism from fans, media, and analysts alike. It's a situation reminiscent of other high-profile NFL contract standoffs, where player leverage, team philosophy, and financial realities collide. For Dallas, the decision will have consequences not just on the field, but in the court of public opinion, shaping perceptions of the franchise for years to come. Adding to the complexity is the dynamic of player development and scheme fit. Micah Parsons is not just talented, he's versatile. His ability to operate as a traditional linebacker, an edge rusher, or even drop into coverage makes him a nightmare for opposing offensive coordinators. In Green Bay's defensive scheme, Parsons could line up in multiple positions depending on the opponent, creating mismatches week after week. His presence would allow defensive coordinators to experiment with blitz packages, disguise coverages, and rotational strategies that were previously unavailable. The versatility Parsons brings is not just a bonus. It's a game changer, providing Green Bay with flexibility and unpredictability that is difficult to replicate through drafting or traditional free agency. The broader implications extend beyond team strategy. Player trades of this magnitude influence market values across the league. If Parsons commands a contract in the range expected, it could shift the ceiling for future defensive player negotiations. Young pass rushers entering the league or seeking extensions may look to Parsons' deal as a benchmark, accelerating inflation in salaries for elite defensive talent. Teams with fewer resources may be forced to recalibrate their expectations, prioritizing cap management over immediate roster upgrades. In this way, the Parsons trade, if it happens, would not just impact Green Bay and Dallas. It would reshape the economic landscape of the NFL, reinforcing the value of transformative defensive players in a quarterback-dominated era. Fan reactions would also play a significant role. Packers fans have been starved for a transformational defensive presence for years, and acquiring Parsons will be celebrated as one of the boldest moves in recent franchise history. Conversely, Cowboys fans might react with outrage or disappointment, particularly if the trade occurs after months of public negotiation. The social and cultural implications within the fan base, media coverage, and online discourse would be immense. Every press conference, game preview, and analyst segment would dissect the trade, exploring its effects on divisional standings, playoff odds, and future drafting strategy. It's not just a football decision. It's a cultural event within the league, amplifying the narrative around both franchises. Finally, we can't ignore the personal dimension. Parsons himself has ambitions that extend beyond financial compensation. He's a competitor, a player driven to win, and his decision may ultimately reflect his desire to be in a position to compete for a Super Bowl. The Cowboys' current trajectory, roster composition, and coaching staff all factor into that calculus. Green Bay's vision, recent draft history, and coaching philosophy offer a compelling alternative. The ultimate decision will likely balance money, team potential, and personal goals, illustrating the multidimensional nature of NFL superstar negotiations. Parsons' choice could define the next decade of his career and set the tone for how elite defenders approach team loyalty, contract leverage, and professional legacy. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The sports world is buzzing with speculation and disbelief as the Philadelphia Eagles reportedly announced a blockbuster move, reportedly acquiring Lamar Jackson, the electrifying quarterback formerly of the Baltimore Ravens. Although the details remain murky and official confirmations are still pending, insiders suggest that this could be one of the most surprising shifts in NFL history. Fans and analysts alike are struggling to digest the implications of such a transaction, as Jackson's unique style of play and dynamic field vision have made him one of the most thrilling athletes in the league. Rumors are swirling that the Eagles are attempting to reinvent their offense entirely, potentially pairing Jackson with a set of complementary talents already entrenched on a roster. Social media is ablaze with discussions about how Jackson's speed and improvisational skills could transform the Eagles' playbook, making Philadelphia a serious contender in the upcoming season. Speculation also points toward potential salary cap maneuvers and strategic trades that might have paved the way for this jaw-dropping acquisition. While skeptics caution that the news may be more hype than reality, whispers from front office sources suggest that the organization has been quietly negotiating for months, perhaps seeing Jackson as the missing puzzle piece to elevate the team to championship status. Analysts are already projecting offensive schemes that could harness Jackson's dual-threat capabilities, further fueling excitement and uncertainty in the NFL community. According to multiple insider hints, the Eagles' pursuit of Jackson may have involved more than just traditional trade discussions, potentially signaling a major shift in how NFL franchises approach marquee acquisitions. The notion that a quarterback of Jackson's caliber would leave Baltimore, a city where he developed his identity and led his team to playoff success, has ignited intense speculation regarding behind-the-scenes negotiations, team dynamics, and long-term strategy. Rumors indicate that the Eagles could be planning an aggressive reconfiguration of their roster, not only to accommodate Jackson's style, but also to maximize the impact of surrounding offensive talent. The potential implications for the AFC and NFC landscape are enormous, as rival teams may now have to rethink defensive strategies to counter Philadelphia's rumored reinvention. Analysts are debating whether the acquisition, if true, represents a strategic masterstroke or an incredibly high-risk gamble that could backfire under pressure. Social media conjecture ranges from cautious optimism to unbridled excitement, with supporters envisioning playoff runs that could reshape the narrative of the league. As whispers continue to circulate, the NFL community finds itself caught between disbelief and anticipation, eager to see if this rumor evolves into a confirmed reality. Further conjecture has emerged regarding how Jackson might integrate into the Eagles' existing offensive scheme, with speculation pointing toward dramatic shifts in play calling and game tempo. Observers suggest that offensive coordinators could adapt the playbook to leverage Jackson's remarkable agility, field awareness, and passing accuracy under pressure, potentially redefining Philadelphia's signature style of football. Rumors hint at extensive meetings and strategic consultations between coaching staff and front office executives, all aimed at crafting a system that maximizes Jackson's strengths while minimizing vulnerabilities. Analysts are debating whether Jackson's transition from Baltimore to Philadelphia could inspire innovations in quarterback utilization across the league, possibly setting a new standard for dual-threat performance. Fans are already drawing comparisons to previous league-altering acquisitions, noting that Jackson's athleticism, leadership, and charisma have the potential to galvanize both the locker room and the fan base. Speculation has also touched upon contract structuring, incentive-laden performance clauses, and potential endorsement opportunities that could accompany such a high-profile move, all contributing to the sensation surrounding this development. Even though the trade has not been officially confirmed, the mere rumor is enough to dominate sports commentary, podcast discussions, and social media debates, creating an atmosphere of suspense and eager anticipation. If true, the acquisition could have a ripple effect, not only transforming the Eagles' identity, but also influencing market dynamics, player negotiations, and competitive strategies throughout the NFL. Meanwhile, media outlets and sports analysts are weighing in on the potential repercussions of this unprecedented rumor, examining how Jackson's arrival might alter team chemistry, leadership hierarchies, and overall morale in Philadelphia. Speculation suggests that veteran players could respond in unpredictable ways, with some embracing the energy and others struggling with the adjustments required by Jackson's unique approach. Insider whispers indicate that the front office may be considering additional signings or draft day maneuvers to complement Jackson's arrival, further intensifying curiosity and conjecture. Fans are constructing elaborate scenarios envisioning playoff matchups, signature highlight plays, and record-breaking performances that could redefine the narrative of the season. Analysts are scrutinizing potential defensive schemes from opponents, projecting how rival coaches might adapt to counter Jackson's mobility and creative decision-making on the field. Rumors have even extended to training camp expectations, suggesting that preseason exhibitions could serve as the first glimpse of the rumored integration between Jackson and the Eagles' offensive unit. Analysts are examining hypothetical scenarios in which Jackson leads the Eagles through a high-tempo, improvisational offense, potentially generating record-breaking statistics and unforgettable highlight reels. Insider speculation hints that the franchise may have been building toward this move for several seasons, positioning draft picks, cap space, and roster composition to accommodate such a revolutionary acquisition. Fans and commentators are increasingly treating the story as more than a simple trade rumor, framing it as a potential pivot point that could influence coaching strategies, defensive schematics, and even league-wide trends in quarterback utilization. While official confirmation remains elusive, the possibility of Jackson donning the Eagles' uniform has created a pervasive sense of excitement, intrigue, and cautious anticipation, demonstrating the power of rumor to captivate the sports world. Debates over potential outcomes, from immediate playoff dominance to long-term team evolution, continue to dominate discussion forums, podcasts, and television segments. Ultimately, whether or not the deal is finalized, the mere suggestion of Lamar Jackson joining Philadelphia has already left an indelible mark on NFL discourse, transforming speculation into a vibrant, ongoing story that captivates fans, analysts, and insiders alike. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.